What's going on, parents? Happy Teenager Tuesday. Welcome back to another edition, the weekly edition of the Parent Podcast. With us today is a frequent guest of the podcast, the one and only Angela Lenz.
Hello.
Hello, Angela.
Angela, I'm so glad to be here.
Have I asked you this? What's your middle name?
You have never asked me that. It's Patrice.
Patrice?
Yeah.
Patrice.
It's after my grandmother.
Oh, yeah. I like that family name. My full name is a family name.
What is it?
William Micah McGee Perry.
It's a lot of names.
I know. Well, William, this is not part of a podcast at all, but William McGee Perry is a family name going back to the oldest ancestor that we can trace, that we have the immigration documents from Ireland, William McGee.
That's awesome. So, mine is a derivative of Patricia, that was my grandmother's.
How derivative?
Listen, it's a fancy word.
It is it's a good word.
Thank you.
Speaking of good words, we've got a lot of good words today. Angela, for people listening that may not know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am married to my husband, Dan. We have known each other since we were 15 and 16 years old. We didn't
high school dating.
No, we did not. We did not. We dated in our 20s, but we grew up in the same youth group. And so your kids can meet their future spouse in their youth group, just so you know.
Come on.
Can happen.
Yeah.
So but we dated in our 20s.
Then they could be missing out on their spouse.
They could be really missing out. But got married in our 20s. We have 3 kids. I have a daughter who's a freshman in college, who's 19, and then twin boys who are juniors in high school.
Yeah. So you've got a lot of experience.
Teenagers.
Yes. And, we're doing this part 1, part 2 in dating so that we can kind of get your insights on your experience when it comes to like dating with both groups, your sons and then your daughter. And I think it'd be good to start with your daughter. Okay. Before you and I came in, we were kind of talking about this idea of like rules or encouragement, So like, if a parent thinks, when do I need to make a rule, or when is it something that I just need to encourage? I say, hey, this is what I think the wise choice is, but the choice is yours. What would you talk to, like, yeah?
I try, especially the older my kids get to be, and the closer they've gotten to 18 and over 18, we try to really not make too many rules except about things that had to do with their safety.
Yeah.
So we did always have a curfew. We did have an age that they were allowed to start dating because we felt like this was it was 16. This is an appropriate age to begin dating one-on-one.
Group hangout's fine.
Yeah, group hangout's fine, but one-on-one by yourself somewhere alone with somebody, like at dinner or movie or whatever, getting in a car with someone alone. 16 was our age. But that was kind of our thought was... it's a safety thing. Safety meaning not just like physical safety, but also a healthy boundary safety as well. So like we have a rule, you can't be alone with the person you're dating in our house, which rarely ever happens because we have a bunch of people always in our house and their dad works from home. So it's real rare that they're going to be alone in our house.
But you're setting the expectation.
But we're setting the expectation.
Yeah.
We have another, and it may sound like a silly rule, but you don't use blankets during a movie.
Oh.
Or you don't share blankets. They can have their own.
Yeah.
But you don't share blankets.
No.
During a movie.
No. Does your family have like the blanket basket? And
yes, we do.
Yeah.
We have a blanket basket, and I had one as a teenager myself, and we did not have that. Oh. So it's a good rule.
It is, yes.
It's a good rule.
Yeah, it's a good rule. So when let's start with talking about Bella, your daughter.
Yeah.
So what were some kind of encouragements and maybe rules and stuff that you had with her?
Yeah, encouragements. I would say we started talking early on about, like when she would say she liked someone, I would always ask the question, what do you like about them? And we try to understand, like, help her understand, okay, what do you like other than what he looks like?
Yeah.
What's his character like? Is he someone who's kind to other people?
Yeah.
Does he treat people well? Is he respectful to his parents and to other adults? Like things like that.
When you did that, was she like, oh, I have no idea?
The first few times, yes.
Yeah.
She's like, he is so cute. But she was very young. She was pretty. She was pretty young. So I didn't really ever dig deep in those things because she was just saying somebody's cute. But that became like part of our conversation.
Yeah.
So that it was
That's
very
good.
normal when she was in high school. And she was saying, oh, I really like so-and-so. And he asked me out, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, but what do you like about him?
Yeah.
And I even still to this day, she's been dating someone for about 7 months now.
Oh.
And I ask all the time, hey, what do you like about him?
Yeah.
What do you like? What's he done lately that's really meant something to you or that you really noticed? Because I do think that we can focus a lot on physicality, and even girls and guys both do.
Yeah.
But who the character of the person is more important. So we talk a lot about setting a standard. Like I would highly encourage from day one, you really should date someone who believes the same way you do.
For sure.
And that we didn't like make a rule about that, but it was something we strongly encouraged because we were like, if you're old enough to date, that means like you're not just dating to date.
Right.
And we talk about that a lot with our kids. Like our boys, some of their friends would date people and I'd be like, hey, are you interested in so-and-so? And they're like, why? Nothing's going to come of it. Like we're in 8th grade. What do you think is going to happen? we're not going to marry him. So they just were like, we're not wasting our time. And I think, I thought I was pretty glad.
Yeah.
They're juniors now, so that's very different.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
But I just would say you don't date just to date. So date somebody who believes the same way you do. And we talked a lot about what a healthy relationship looks like. And so when their dad and I would have disagreements or something, and we're not big, like we aren't yelling fighters. Like we might disagree about something, but I don't know that our kids would always know, but we've disagreed about little things in front of them. And I would talk to them later about that. And I would say, hey, Dad and I were disagreeing earlier about how this happened. And I just hope you know that like the way that you disagree with someone you're dating or that you later marry, you have to learn how to fight fair. And we would talk about like, they would say, do you and Dad fight a lot? Do you fight about these things? And I'm like, if you're going to fight about something, which that's going to happen, we're humans, you're going to argue and you're going to disagree. Fight fair. Like, did you ever hear Dad use a derogatory term against me? No. Have you ever heard Dad call me a name? No. That's because that's not appropriate. Like,
but did you call Dan a name?
I did not call Dan a name. That was my next question. Have I ever called? Was I manipulative in it? Like, what did you hear us say when we were disagreeing? You heard us disagreeing about it, using facts, talking about our feelings, how it made us feel. Yeah. But you didn't hear us calling each other names. Yeah. Or threatening each other or things like that. And so we would talk about like how that's a healthy thing for a relationship, how it's healthy. I praise things when they date people who I like. There was someone that one of my kids dated, and I'm not gonna say who, but like I appreciated the fact that they are not controlling. Like I was like, hey, I really like that they encourage you to hang out with your friends. Hey, I really like that they always encourage you to do the things that you love doing. Yeah. Like those are important in dating somebody.
Oh yeah. I love that. I feel like what you just said translates to somebody who might say, well, I'm in a blended family or I'm a single parent and their mom remarried and it's messy and like, that's great. You have a good example for them, but it's different for us. Yeah. I would say something that like every parent can do is always celebrate the positive that you see more than even just talking about the negative that when me and your mom were married, and they'll do differently because I told them how bad it was. I do think it's better to point out the positive of like, I love how you seem to be more of yourself around them. Like that's a great thing to pull out.
Yes. I think pointing out the positives. Also, our kids are inevitably going to do what we are against. Oh, yeah. They just are. It's in their nature. Like if I come down and go, hey, I just don't like so-and-so. I don't think they're good for you. I don't think that they're not going to break up with them. They're not going to quit liking them because I said I didn't like them.
That's true. They might get more sneaky though.
They will get sneakier. They will sneak around. They will not tell me things. They will not be honest about what they're doing. So it's so much better for me to ask questions as a parent. Like, hey, how did that make you feel when that happened? Yeah. Or if I see things that I don't love, ask more questions about it, but also praise what I do love. Yeah. And maybe just try to point out some of the long-term things that you see. Like, especially the older my kids get, the closer they are to marriage age one day in their 20s and later years. And
your daughter's at a Christian school, so
she is, but
that's dangerous.
Yes,
Ring by spring.
Ring by spring, but no, we're not on that track. We are not on that track.
Let me ask you this question a little bit on the spot. We didn't talk about this before, but with Bella, was there ever a time that maybe you did see her, I don't know, think you kind of wondered, I wonder if she might change who she is because she likes who this guy is? Did you ever have an instance like that?
I definitely worry about that. I'm trying to not get too personal because I don't want to, her. I only want to say things that I would say if she was sitting right here,
Sure.
which I would.
Yeah.
But we've definitely had the conversations of her her personality is very much a people-pleasing personality, and very much like I want to make you comfortable. She's very kind, very generous, very thoughtful, and so I do worry, like as a parent. What if she just like wants to make the other person so happy she forgets who she is? And so I've prayed a lot over the years that God would continue to not just have her believe in who in her identity, like finding her own identity, but that he would open her ears as y'all are teaching about it, as John's teaching about it on weekends, that he'll surround her with leaders and friends. And so I saw that happen as she came out of high school years and into college. She is someone who knows what her identity is. She knows who she is. She knows that she where her boundary is. She knows what her foundation is, and she's not going to change that. As much as she may care about somebody and love somebody, she's not going to change that because she's so confident in that now. And I think so much of that goes back to a foundational belief in who she is in Christ.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really big part of it, and she would say that too.
Yeah.
I got a text message from one of the professor's wives at her college. It was a very random thing. We have a mutual friend. And she said, "Hey, I know you're so proud of your girl. I just want you to know that, man, I'm so impressed every time I see her. She is someone who is true to who she is.
Oh, that's cool.
And she doesn't change who she is because of who she's around. She is just kind and compassionate to everybody, no matter what."
What a great text to get when she's hours away in Arkansas.
Hours away. I was so proud. I was so proud. But I was also I thought back to that and I thought, man, the things that I really worried about when she was in high school, the 10th, 11th, 12th grade years, of like, is she just going to become somebody else to just make everybody else happy?
Yeah.
Really, I was so grateful that she listened to those messages that God spoke clearly to her hearts through her camps and her leaders and her friends, and that she is who she is in Christ and she knows who that is.
Yeah, that's cool. So. That's cool. Anything else for this week for parents of daughters?
I think dads, you are so important in your daughters' lives. They will base what they get. They will look for what they don't get from you in the men that they date.
Oof.
So as much as I, as a mom, want to pour into, and I try to be, I think what my husband has done in taking my daughter on dates individually, in caring about the things she cares about, and making sure she is valued and loved, and she knows that she is valued and loved by us, is so much more influential on my daughter. I've seen it over and over again with young people, that when young ladies don't have a great relationship with their dad, and I don't say that, like, I'm well aware there's single parents out there. There's those who don't have dads. They can get those same things from other people in their lives. But if you are a dad that has a daughter, do not think that if you are not intentional, that it's just going to be okay, that your wife will handle it, that the people in her life will handle it. How you treat your daughter and how you treat your wife, your sons are watching. So it's both and.
Yeah.
But,
and your ex-wife.
And your all people in your life. Yeah. How you treat others, your kids are watching. So dads, do not think that you are not influential in your teenagers' lives and how they are building the foundational building blocks of what their future relationships are going to look like.
Yeah.
You make a difference, and what you pour into them is what they will look for and what they will know is important to them in their future relationships.
Yeah, that's good. Dads, you got this. You're not alone. Yep. Neither are you, moms. God is with you, and so are we. We'll see you next week for part 2.